Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV. My co-host Jeremy Scipio is hitting the stage tonight, but we have a very special guest, author, Mr. Antoin Watson. What's happening with you, man?
Not much, man. I definitely appreciate you bringing me on. I know we've been talking back and forth, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to connect and make this podcast happen. So thank you again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, with all that being said, you're a young author, so my thing is, uh, the podcast. Basically, we have the comedy aspect with Jeremy, my co-host, who's not here tonight, and then I bring a little bit of the hip hop element to it. But we kind of use the platform to spotlight people that have positive things going on. So we're gonna get into the book, but we just gonna start out with a little bit about you. Where are you from, and where do you reside?
Originally from San Diego, California. Shout out to Dago. But I've been living in Killeen, Texas for the past 3.5 years, and definitely trying to make some things happen while I'm here.
Oh man, Killeen, Texas. That sounds like somewhere that that sounds like somewhere where you guys have extreme weather.
Man, I'm gonna tell you the weather here is crazy, especially now we're kind of going back and forth with this bipolar weather where it's nice and sunny out one day and then it's ice cold the next day, but then we have freeze season getting ready to come up in like January, so that's gonna be light snow, probably 30-40 degree days, and I'm not a fan of the cold, so I'm a spring and summer weather guy, so I can't wait to get back to that warm weather, man.
Nah, it's okay to say it. You a Southern California guy, man. You just don't live in Southern California.
You're right about that. It's I guess it's still in me because I get cold very easily around here.
Oh yeah, man. It's right now, it's probably dipping into the 60s, and it's like very chilly to me. Just dipping into the 60s from what it is. But I prefer the cold over the warm, man. Because when it's cold, you can warm up. You know what I'm saying? But when it's hot, man, you can't escape it. So with that being said, when was the first time you heard hip hop and what was the song?
The first time I heard hip hop, it was multiple songs and artists growing up in California, from the Snoops to Dr. Dre to Ice Cube, Tupac.
Okay.
So it wasn't just one artist or one song. Um, I honestly don't remember the actually, you know what? I take that back. The first song I do remember was Naughty by Nature's OPP. The, I think that's probably like the earliest memory I remember when it comes to hip hop. I always been a big Tretch fan, still a Tretch fan to this day. That's been
Man,
about over 30 years.
people don't give them their credit. They had the biggest marketing campaign ever when they came out. Cause that was kind of when I was uh yeah, I was kind of, you know what? I don't recall how deep I was into the entertainment part of hip hop, but as a
Mhm.
fan, I just remember they were plastered all over the magazines, and they had a lot of merch just going everywhere. Like, man, having a Naughty by Nature shirt at that time was like having a gold chain. You know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah,
Yeah, if you could have had one. What's your favorite era of hip hop?
man, I'm always gonna be late 80s and 90s. I don't know why, but it's I feel like the sound was way different back then from what I be hearing now. What I hear now, I mean it's okay, but it's not something I can listen to all day long. You put me back, to listening to hip hop in the late 80s and 90s. I could listen to that all day. I could listen to Easy E. I could listen to Bone Thugs and Harmony. I could listen to a lot of those so many other ones I can't even think of off the top of my head. So
So this is the thing. We're old. That's the thing. And the era that you're referring to is the golden era of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna share something with you that a DJ buddy of mine said to me, and he DJ'd on a well he's a co-host on a very popular podcast, and then he DJ'd on that podcast, but then he also did like club gigs around the city. So I hired him to do an event, and we were talking, and I said, hey man, and this was about maybe 5 years ago. I was like, hey man, I'm really trying to not just be old, but it's very difficult for me to catch the contemporary hip hop right now. So he gave me a cheat code. He said, the times are different. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe when you're listening to the contemporary hip hop, you're listening looking for a dope beat, dope rhymes, dope hooking content. And my boy was like, he was like, but where we are right now, you may not get all of those. You may just get one. And so you kind of gotta connect with that one thing that you can get out of contemporary hip hop, and you just have to understand we're in a different time. You know what I'm saying? Which doesn't make it good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I'm saying? And when I
that makes
start,
sense. Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that makes sense because I think I'm probably comparing errors and not even realizing that I'm comparing errors because each error is kind of like sports. Each era is gonna be different. So how rap was back then, how they actually made rap, what they was talking about, is gonna be way different than what we got now. And then on top of that, now we have social media. So it's you got rappers being discovered on Instagram, TikTok, and all kind of platforms.
I'll give you the example. Uh, I was watching this dude. He goes by the name of Messiah online. He's a older dude. He plays basketball. From New York, I believe. And he just like, man, he's probably he's older than me, man. He probably like in his 60s, but can play basketball ridiculous. And he goes up against these young dudes, and he plays a very physical game, but he shoots from the outside. Like that's his whole thing. And when you think of basketball, and you think of just like the the dream team, like the old school Lakers and all that kind of stuff, it was a very
Mm-hmm.
physical game. You know what I'm saying? Where people played with their body, they posted up. You know what I'm saying? They would touch you. It ain't no touching right now. Like man, you point at somebody and they hollering foul and they rolling on the ground, got an injury, out for 2 games, 3 games, or whatever. And so it's just what was and what is.
Yeah, it's for entertainment.
Yeah, yeah, that's what that is. So what's your favorite medium to consume music? Like where do you go to hear new songs? Or
Honestly, I'm a YouTube head. I spend so much time on YouTube, listening to music, listening to different podcasts. So that's where I spend all my time. Anything new that I want to hear, I'll go straight to YouTube.
okay, okay. Yeah, I listen to YouTube, and then every blue moon I'll just go to SoundCloud. I'm analog, prehistoric. I'll just go and I'll just enter something, and then I just, kind of try to connect with something there. And that's what that is. What's your favorite hip hop movie?
Oh man, I'm not. I'm honestly, I was liking that the NWA movie they made a couple years ago. I was enjoying that. I'm gonna say two movies. I was enjoying that NWA movie they made, but also Juice. From back in the day. I mean, just looking at Tupac being in there, and then there was it was two rappers that were brothers in that. It was one of the guys' name is Eric, and I forgot what the other guy's name is. And they were big rappers, back in the day, and they also made a lot of production in that movie. So that and what else was it? Dang, I can't. It's a movie with Mekhi Phifer in it. There was Mekhi Phifer. There was kind of hip hop like.
Nah,
I
I know
cannot
exactly what you're
even.
talking about. It was Gridlock. No, 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 no. That the Gridlock was with Tupac. You're talking about it was the one where he lived in the projects.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
He was in the drug game. He was in the drug game, and it had
Delroy
Cameron
Lindo.
and huh?
Delroy Lindo. He's the old black dude.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about it was a movie in the '90s that him and Delroy was in, but this one was probably like early 2000s.
Okay.
He was in the drug game. His partner was working at a cleaners and decided to quit the cleaners and join the drug game. It's a movie that plays a lot. I just can't think off the top of my
Oh,
head. I don't know why
that
I
was
can't
what the,
think of it.
oh, you talking about Paid in Full.
Paid in man. That's a
Oh,
class. I could yeah.
let me tell you something, man. Uh I was watching an interview and it had Wood Harris, the dude who played A.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on the Breakfast Club. It was an old school Breakfast Club interview. And I saw something, and at the time he said it, I felt he was being cocky. And then, like years later, I had to say, man. So they asked him, like, who do you think you're on the level of, or as an actor? You know what I'm saying? That or whatnot. And then they were like, do you think you're on because they were like, we know you're an underdog, but you're very talented. And so they were like, who do you think you're on the level of? And then somebody said, like, you know, are you on the level of a Denzel, do you think? Or whatever. And he said something that was so cocky, but I had to spin the record back and just say, like, dang, maybe he was right. He said, well, shoot, man. If you ask me, I might be better than Denzel. You
Oh
know what I'm
wow.
saying? And when he said it, I was kind of like, man, how could you say that? And then years later, I was like, dude, this is a very talented, this cat is talented. I'm not saying he's better than Denzel, but he's nobody to sneeze at.
Well, I will say they do have some comparisons in the way of how versatile they are because Woody never plays in the same type of movie. He
Oh
may
man,
be
he
playing a he may be
killed
playing a
Jimi
manager.
Hendrix.
He may be playing a manager in one of the movies like he did with New Edition. He may be playing a gangbanger like he did in Above the Rim.
You know what?
Uh,
My business partner, he he pointed, yeah, he pointed some stuff out to me. I'll say this, dude. Jimi Hendrix had me like, whoa. No, my business partner told me that he was in the New Edition. I still haven't seen the New Edition movie. He was like, dude, if you like the character, because Paid in Full was my joint, man. I was
yeah,
like, man, that movie does not get enough credit. Real quick, man. I gotta give a pause for the cause to Ben Frank. He's in the chat. He's a Pharcyde TV faithful. You know what I'm saying? He come through and soaks up, so he soaks up a little bit of the game when we do our little podcast and whatnot. So I got to shout out Ben Frank. But Paid in Full, man, that movie was do so many characters. As a matter of fact, I haven't watched Snowfall, but the dude who played Kermit in Paid in Full was the
yeah,
main character,
yeah,
his father
yeah.
in Snowfall. And I was like, dang. But
I
I'm
remember that because he got Woody. He kind of got Woody into the drug game because when old dude got arrested, you know, I guess Woody was using his product,
he
and then
did.
he got hooked.
He did. He
Yeah.
did. And you know what? Um, a lot of people look at Dame Dash and they see him, as being disgruntled sometimes or whatever. But he was a forerunner, man. You can't take it from him, man. He was just. I look at Dame Dash as just a very passionate guy, and it's kind of like if you did create a lot of stuff and you were involved in a lot of stuff, and people tried to write you out of history, I guess to a certain extent, you're gonna even scream louder from your soapbox. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? For people to just kind of like to just get it. So with that being said, your middle school experience, what was the soundtrack going on at the time?
Outcast. Outcast. Sorry, Miss Jackson. And I know there was some other ones, but that's the number one art soundtrack group that I remember listening to a lot in middle school was Outkast.
The trip about Outcast. I saw the South come up, dude. Like LA, it was like LA. If it was two dogs, it was the rope, and LA was a pit bull, and New York was a pit bull, and they were tugging the rope back and forth. And while they was tugging the rope, the South came from nowhere, man. I mean, they came from nowhere, and they ain't stopped. They literally have not. They literally have not stopped, dude. It's almost it almost reminds me of the political climate we in, man. Like where something happens and you don't see it coming, but it
Yeah.
just is there. You know what I'm saying? It's there. And what can you? Oh man, be frank. Ben Frank. Yep. Organized noise. Yep. Yep. Got to give it up. Got to give it up. And I forget about them. You know what I'm saying? Everybody kind of zones in the Pharaoh Monch, but nah, you had, organized noise was a group. Or wait a minute. No, that was organized confusion. Organized noise was the production team. That was the production team. Rest in peace, Rico Wade. You know what I'm saying? Responsible for so much stuff. And I'll say, if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to Sleepy Brown's album. I think it was called Sleepy Sweet. But another very talented songwriter, producer from the ATL. So we said we weren't going to talk politics, but I'm just going to ask you this one. Character versus policy. What do you gravitate towards? Because the thing about it is, we not old. We're older, but we're not old. And so it's like old people are like, oh, it has to be about character. And then some people are like policy. Uh, what what do you gravitate towards more? The charisma of a politician, or what they talking about as far as their policy?
Probably what they're talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely what they're talking about.
Nah, that hey man, nah, that's a fair one.
Yeah.
Nah, hey man, that's easy.
And then hopefully they're backing up what they're talking about, and it's not just lip service.
Yeah, but the thing about it though, politicians are politicians, man. And that's just what it is, man. It's it's just part of you. Just if you're a religious man, I say just pray for the best, man. Just pray for the best. And yeah, so that's what that is. So when you graduated high school, what did you think your path was going to be?
Man, honestly, I was thinking NBA.
For
I
real?
can remember, yeah, I can remember from the time I was in the fourth grade, and probably even younger than that, playing ball on different basketball teams. The amount of hours that I put into playing basketball from the time I was fourth grade 9 years old to I graduated, even my first year in college, I was still putting time in. Like I pretty much ate and slept basketball, you know. And I just remember putting the time in, working out, lifting weights, putting up shots, watching film, trying to do everything possible to make it to the league. And so I don't care how many people was doubting me in high school. I was focused. I was out there, rain, sleet, whatever it was, because I was determined to make it to the league. And so, man, and a lot of people was like, "Oh, you ain't gonna have no shot." And I was one of the people that said I was gonna go for it and was gonna try to make it. And for me, it wasn't just talk. I was backing it up with my work ethic. Now, of course, I didn't make it, but at some point in time, I just kind of made a decision, and then my passion kind of changed. And that's one thing I learned about this journey is that you know sometimes your passion can kind of change. I could be all about basketball, and then all of a sudden, I find a passion that I never knew that was even there. So that's what happened for me.
No, I get it. I get it, man. I'm a very passion driven person. And it's like, but for me, which this is great we having this conversation because we're gonna get to why you here. But my whole thing is to kind of humanize the guests that I interview, and then we get into what they do. But we kind of, we chop it up a little bit before. But like for me, I'm a very passionate person. But when the lights turned off, wrap. It's a wrap. Like I'm on. I look at it like my passion best serves my trajectory. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like if I'm doing something and I just see that I'm getting absolutely nowhere, and the people I'm dealing with, they're not motivated or whatever, the 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 inner me will just want to give it everything because I feel like, man, team player, you're only as good as your team. But then when it's just not it anymore, it's kind of like, all right, we need to pivot to another direction that may serve better. So with that being said, the name of your book,
Silent Prison.
one more time.
Silent Prison.
Okay. All right. So what inspired you to write this book?
Honestly, it was a couple things. One was a conversation that I had with my wife one day. I think we were leaving a grocery store, and I was looking at our finances, and I was frustrated based on where we was at in the month and how much more month we had and how much of a struggle it looked like the rest of the month was going to be. And I remember her having a conversation with me about contentment in God and trusting in God and finding gratitude and where we are, and this trusting and believing that he was going to get us through like he always did. So it was a combination of that conversation. And the funny thing is, she had that conversation with me so many times before, and it's one of those things that um, at some point in time, you know, after you have a conversation with somebody, you keep saying the same thing that eventually a light bulb hit. And I do remember her saying something to me that in the terms of there's no next level without finding contentment where you are. So it was that followed by just reflection of a battle that I have been dealing with for almost 20 years. And it was a cycle that I could not get away from. It had to do with my ambition, with where I was at. I was one of those people that had a million jobs, but my passion was business. My passion was entrepreneurship. My passion was creating my own business, my own legacy, and being able to create something, create jobs for people in the community, and be able to leave a legacy for my children. And I couldn't seem to get past this battle, no matter how many self-talks I had with myself, no matter how many podcasts I listened to. I just could not shake this battle. So in the book, I share my just my journey of the beginning of this battle to actually starting to put the work into overcoming this battle.
You know what? Part of my journey with like life coaching, and I like in life coaching to because I bred dogs forever. I got a pair right now. They're not breeding though. My female, she probably could have puppies. She's never had puppies 4 years, but thank God, because man, I'm not the younger version of me, man. I used to be able to deal with like 3 or 4 litters a year, man, between my house and my father's house. My father lived 10 minutes away and juggling these puppies. And now I'm just kind of like, every time she go in heat and she don't get pregnant, I'm like, woo, you know what I'm saying? But I say that to say, um, with my life coaching experience, I felt like I had somebody from the outside hold me accountable and train me, like retrain the way that my mind processed things. And so it was two things that I learned in the first like 2 months before we could even get into like the like major coaching and all that kind of thing. And one thing was to give time to myself, and I just didn't know how. Like I just had no. So he gave me an assignment, and he said, "I want you to reward yourself for something. When you make an accomplishment, I want you to reward yourself. Uh, it can't be food. It can't be spending money. Like he said, you need to reward yourself with something that has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with money or whatever, but just something for." And I couldn't wrap my mind around the concept. And he's like, man, if you can't treat yourself right, the world ain't gonna treat you right. It made me kind of angry when he said it at first, and then I, you know what I'm saying? Then I kind of tapped in, and I was like, dang. And then the other part was learning to mute the white noise. And so what white noise is, whenever you do something or you're gonna do something, and then that little voice comes on and says, you know what, come back to it, or multitask while you're trying to focus on something, or just whatever. And it's a trip because like my business partner, like he ain't had no life coaching, I'm pretty sure, whatever, but like one of his gifts, like I went to the side of our warehouse where he was, and he was focused on something. And if I ever walk into his space, he'll give me a couple minutes or whatever, just for whatever. But I could tell he was like rewiring something, or he was doing something that was kind of technical. And I could see his mind was tapped into it. And even though he was gonna give me a little bit of space, I was kind of like, nah, man, I see you, I see you into the groove. And I respected his focus so much, and I kind of appreciated that. And I was like, dang. And like for me, one of my little cheat codes is when I focus on something and then the white noise comes in that makes me say, ah, man, you should do something else or multitask or use this third theme or whatever. I'd say to myself, you know what? Before I do that other thing I just thought about, I'm about to do this for 15 minutes. Like I give myself, like I do it in chunks of 15 minutes. And I say, okay, I'm just going to focus on this for 15 minutes. And I've been able to have some success with it. But it's very difficult to it's very difficult to get in touch with your mind and to focus. You know what I'm saying? That's like one of the as far as like making goals, like achieving goals. And like for me, my profession is kind of like I deal with the entertainment thing, but then I also have a printing company. And so there's like always ideas, there's always creative stuff, there's just so much stuff. And I have to stop myself and I'm just like, man, you can't make everything a project and you can't adopt everybody else's project. And so, you know, I just try to maintain my passion, but not turn like I have to purposely focus on not turning every idea into a money making thing, or like or every idea doesn't have to be a thing where, you know, I'm in my creative zone, I work for myself, I'll come up with an idea, and then I just focus so hard on that while I'm not focusing on anything else. So I've had to create this balance where it's okay to have ideas, it's okay to see ways of making money and all this, but everything you do doesn't have to be like a master plan or a way of making money.
And I can relate to you so much about what you just said about the focus. And I first of all, I want to say, when your life coach was talking about the taking time for yourself, one of the things I've noticed is that when I have taken time to myself, I feel refreshed. And one of the ways that I, take time to myself is I'm listening to music. I'm listening to, 90s R&B is a way to kind of just, get my mind wrapped around things. Or I'm watching, something on Netflix. I've been watching Empire again, or some old movie. So I ain't gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard as an entrepreneur. You do not want to take any time off, but I have seen the value in what happens when we do take that time to just gather ourselves and kind of just reflect. I feel more fresher, and I feel like I'm more effective. But also too, I wanted to say that that focus is hard because I'm like you. I come up with a lot of ideas myself. I got a book, a green book that I take to work with me, and it has so many ideas that I want to do. You know, a lot of them are community wide things, of starting a community school to, whatever. And I battle with that. That's been a battle with me. Is that, man? I wanna pursue all these ideas, but I realize that there's only so much time. And I also realize that right now, early in the game, I am, working by myself. So it's not like I have a huge team that can, you know, kind of get these ideas executed. So, I'm learning. I'm going through my own self work, self discovery process right now. Really seeing the awareness, and I'm really starting to focus and hone in on that one thing, which, for me has been the book. Because I'm not gonna lie, there's been so many other things that's came up, but I'm like, let me focus. Let me see this book through. Let me see it through completion, and then go to the next thing. So
You know, um, so when I was in the entertainment industry, like a lot more than I am now, um, I would always ask people in a respectful way, like, how do you make money? Because we would go out and we do shows and we'd have promoters. Some of them, all they would come up with the money all kind of ways, like all like just all and so my thing would be, to get away from the group and just like, man, how do you, how like is it sponsorship money? Is it your hustle money? Like what? Like how? Like how do you do it? And one of the things that I guess I kind of just recognize is that you have to do one thing right before you do a whole bunch of things. Like you can do a whole bunch of things, but you got to have your one thing. And I say that to say I have a buddy who owns his family has a taco franchise in California, a southern Cal, I guess Los Angeles area. They probably within maybe within the 30 miles of Los Angeles, they probably have about 5 locations. And so when I met him in the back of a at a club. He was in the patio area and he was serving tacos. And he said he was introduced to me by another homeboy, and I met him in like 2004. And he said, "Yo, man, you got to try these fish tacos." And I was just like, "Oh man, I live in a highly Hispanic area, man. I've had a million tacos. Like, what makes one taco really better than another taco like that?" He's like, "Nah, man, my tacos are like crack, man. But the first one I'm gonna give you for free." And so, I kind of like laughed it off, and and I had one of the tacos, and I haven't stopped eating them tacos, man, since 2004. But I say that to say, he's an entrepreneur also. We ended up becoming friends, and I was able to pick his mind on a couple of things. And he told me when his father started the taco franchise, his father just focused on fish tacos. Now they have fish, carne asada, uh, pastor, potato tacos, and all these other things, whatever. But he said his pops got the fish taco down. And then after he got the fish taco down, then everything else kind of like married together with it. So I say all that to say, you got to have the one thing that you do, and then it's cool for you to have these other things that you do, but you got to have that one that you're kind of locked in on, because if you don't, you're just constantly going to be scrambling to try to get all these things right, and you're just gonna like you're not gonna have anything right.
That's how you get your credibility. You need if you when you get that credibility and that branding, then I feel like it makes it easier when you for those other projects because it's like, oh, it's that guy that owns this business right here that's been real successful, and now he's venturing off and doing something else, but he got a track record. He got that credibility. So, and then it only helps you in the next venture you're doing because now you have the blueprint.
The other thing is you can't overthink processes, and that's something that my business partner and I we've gone back and forth with over the years, where our process in the past was to just try to perfect things. You know what I'm saying? But in that process, we've seen other people do the things that we've tried to perfect, and not saying that they do it like half-ass, but they'll do it cool enough and get it popping, and they'll create a thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's also that balance of not making everything a project. Like everything does not have to be a project. You know what I'm saying? It can be which I'm a lot better with that right now. You know what I'm saying? And I have to stop myself. Like even with the passion for me and in the printing business, I've like getting new machinery is kind of my thing, and I'll get so passionate about it that I'll go to the office, I'll come home, and then I'll eat, chill, do whatever, and I'll be like, man, I just want to go back for an hour. Just want to, and I'm always 20 minutes away, and then I have to stop myself. I'm like, dude, knock it off. You need to just chill. It'll be there tomorrow. You hop into the double dutch, you'll get it popping. But uh it's also that balance in not burning yourself out. You know what I'm saying? And just learning to collect. But I'm glad that you have that green book, because I have a black book, and I just write my ideas down and the stuff, stuff that I have. And sometimes I might come to my book like once a week or once every other week to actually look at what I've written down, and I'll say like, you know what, I'm gonna pick one of these things and I'm gonna try to flush it out. And if I can't flush it out, I'm just gonna go to something else, but not to forget or leave anything like behind, but just to kind of flush it out to an idea that may be able to serve my purpose of what I have going on now, where I'm not just doing a whole new project. Because I tell clients all the time, I know graphic design good enough to get me kind of like where I need to go. And then I'll talk to a client and they'll be like, well, man, you can do it kind of okay. Why do you hire a graphic designer? Why do you have a graphic designer on payroll? And I was like, man, I don't want to know everything. Like, I really don't want to know everything. Like, I want to, like, some things I do out of necessity. And then it was me having to be real with myself and just say, like, dude, you can't know everything. Like, you absolutely, and then that's where my business partner comes in again. He's like, man, learn to delegate, man. You can't, like, you're not gonna have a different outcome, like doing things the same. Like, you got to do something different to have something different. So that's just me. And dude, I'm just chiming in because it's kind of exciting to talk to somebody who um is on a journey of growth in the capacity of just saying, like, well, okay, I want to do it a different way. Let me kind of try to unpack this and figure out the ways that I can discipline myself into doing this thing like another way. So, with all that being said, what's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
The best advice I've ever received, honestly, was um, it was a mentor of mine who's actually my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and I could say he was one of my first mentors, and he just told me. I mean, it's gonna sound cliche and everything, but he just told me this to keep my head up and just stay focused. And I say that because I've experienced a lot of obstacles along my journey. You know, a lot of naysayers, a lot of challenges that I ran into, a lot of insecurities that I had in my own head that could have caused me to quit a long time ago. But he just told me just stay focused, just stay determined, and know that obstacles and those challenges are going to come your way, and you always have an option to either keep going or you can just quit and throw in a towel. And if I could be honest, there's been times I wanted to quit and throw in the towel because the journey, especially this journey, it gets hard. You know, entrepreneurship and everything is not for everybody. It is uh, a long journey. It's a marathon. But what's kept me going, honestly, is the freedom. But also there, I feel like there's so many people that God is given that God has given me to pour into. Uh, there's people that need the motivation. They need to hear my story. They need to hear my next book. They need to just hear from me because maybe they're on the journey or they're on the mindset of wanting to give up. You know, they're having some challenges right now. They don't see a way out. They don't see, you know, life getting better, and they're ready to throw in a towel. And maybe that person, that vessel to inspire them just enough for them to keep going.
Nah, that's dope. I'll say, I had two pieces of invaluable advice that were given to me because of the climate we're in right now. My mother, back when I was in high school, um, Bush the son was about to he was, I think him and Gore, maybe they were going back and forth, and maybe Gore was supposed to win, but then Bush did his little whoop de whoop and he ended up winning. Whatever they do, he ended up winning. And I remember going to my mom and I was like, man, the Republicans. I was like, man, Bush is gonna win. He's got us in these wars and da 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 da. And I was really freaked out. And I had never paid attention to politics before. Like, I'd never. So it's like my first time as a high school student. Yeah, I was probably high school, maybe 10th grade, something like that. But anyway, my first time paying attention to politics, and I come to her and I was freaked out. And she said, let me tell you something. There's people that are paid more money than you'll ever get paid to deal with those things. And there's people that have far more education than you'll ever have to deal with those things. And as you get older, you're going to learn to let them deal with those issues, and you're going to have to deal with your issues. And I was like, dang, like I think about that all the time, especially right now. I'm like, dang, because a lot of people are tripping hard based on where we are, politically and whatnot. And then the second piece of advice that was very good advice, um, a very wise man, he had his ways, but he was a very wise man, told me, whenever you think you've seen the craziest shit, it's something 10 times crazier waiting around the corner. Mm. And when he said that to me, I kind of looked at him like, man, he has a horrible outlook on life. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how can you look at life like that? But the cold thing about living, you see enough of these days and you be like, damn, he had it, he had it spot on.
It's better to prepare for that, that negative or that challenge this around the road. I mean, this next is over the road, then believing that nothing gonna happen. So
the reality, man, it's an average of numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna it's when is the only absolute in that. It's just like, when is it gonna happen? But you're gonna live some life as long as you wake up every day and you're involved in things. You're gonna live some life. So, your ultimate goal.
Honestly, my ultimate goal is to, based on everything I'm doing, I just want to position as many people as possible to become the best version of themselves. Whatever the best version of themselves looks like, between my book writing, between podcasts, talks, any project that I ever get involved in, it's always going to be centered around helping and positioning people to become the best versions of themselves. Because I feel like we're born with the opportunity to be able to be the best version of ourselves, but a lot of times we have mental battles holding us back from becoming the best version of ourselves. We have our own insecurities. We have so many things that's stopping us from becoming the best version of ourselves. So that's what I'm all about. Anytime I do a post, anytime I'm writing a book, anytime I'm getting ready to do a talk, what can I do on my end that can inspire people to pursue becoming the best version of themselves, and how can they take what I'm saying and use that toward becoming the best version of themselves?
There's a Middle Eastern saying, the tighter you squeeze the sand, the more of it comes out between your fingers, man. And I'm all about each one teach one, and not to preach to everybody like you do, because everybody has their own way. You know what I'm saying? But you'll whether it's financially, spiritually, materially, you'll never invest. You'll never, excuse me, you'll never enrich yourself without enriching others. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna, and like, as long as you understand that, you're gonna have to give back. You're gonna have to each one teach one. I think my biggest hurdle with that is just kind of figuring out who's worth the investment. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, if I'm struggling, and that's what my business partner, that's one of his, I'm sure one of his little gripes or whatever. It's like, man, dude, you barely getting it together. Like you're over here putting into somebody or pouring into someone else when you're trying to get your thing together. But I think it's just a balance. You know what I'm saying? It's just literally, it's just a balance of who is. But As I've gotten older, I've learned, you know, maybe the best way to teach someone or motivate someone or to assist someone is by example. You know what I'm saying? So if you're raggedy, it's kind of like, okay, if your thing is raggedy, you're trying to help somebody else, maybe your thing would be best received if you kind of tighten your thing up. And I'm not speaking of you, I'm speaking of myself and in general. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you're before you tell somebody how to detail a car, keep your car clean. Detail, have your rims straight and all that. You know, and that's just you know, one of the things that I've observed.
Well, yeah, I get where you're going because that's that credibility we was talking about. It kind of reminds me of I was a big Kobe Bryant fan, and just how he was the first guy in the gym, the last guy to leave, and he did that his whole career. And that right there, that's why he was as great as he was. But that's credibility because people, it's not like he was saying that. He actually was the example because you'll look
Man,
up and you'll see him in the gym, and then you go home, and then you may come back a couple of hours later, he's still in the gym, So that's that credibility. So he actually he preached what he was trying to get you to do.
so to the other side of the coin with that, I was watching a podcast last week and they're talking about it was one of Allen Iverson's teammates. And they were like, man, he would get so faded. And then he would not show up for practice. And then he'd show up at the game. And
Total
he'd be
opposite.
on fire. But the difference between Allen Iverson and Kobe. Allen
Even
Iverson was a great player. Kobe was an alien. He was a whole nother he was a whole nother thing.
like and even Iverson was saying that on the interview, the difference between him and Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant he lived and ate basketball. A lot of guys in the league, they love and maybe enjoy the game of basketball, but they don't. It's not their life. Like Kobe, he centered everything around the game of basketball. Like he was gonna get his 3 or 4 workouts in the gym a day. He was gonna make it happen, no matter what. A lot of other guys, they may go in the gym maybe once, but they wasn't trying to. They wasn't the word obsessed. They wasn't obsessed with being great like Kobe Bryant was.
So as we wind it down and we bring it to the last couple of questions, if you had a biopic, what would it be called?
Victory over battles.
All right. I got to take a slice of that. All right. Yep. And who would play you?
It'd probably be a tie between Michael B. Jordan and Denzel Washington. It'd be an older version.
Younger. That's right. Nah, that's dope. That's dope. So nah, man, that was pretty much it, man. I hate that I had so much to say on the topic, and my co-host would have balanced me out because he would have came with some good ones, some questions, and some good ones. But no, man, the journey of trying to be better. But you know what though? I think we all on the journey to attempt to be better. It's just some of us vocalize it, some of us don't vocalize it, and then it's that thing of uh don't judge me. Don't judge me by some people are good at coaching, but they don't know how to dribble. And you can't, you know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, man, you know, some people can say how, but they don't necessarily know how, but they could tell you how. And so there could be a lot of conflict that's in that. But man, I'm just trying to be better every day, man.
That's the goal. Like every day, you know, try to get a small win every day, no matter how small the win is. It's gonna build. Like I heard Eric Thomas talking about bricks and how, you know, every day, you know, you wake up and you get these small wins, and no matter how small the wins are, at the end of the day, they all build up. You know.
Yeah. I started listening to Eric Thomas maybe 5, 6 years ago. And very passionate brother, hip hop preacher, I guess hip hop preacher. And him and Inky Johnson. Him and Inky Johnson, two good dudes to listen to. Eric Thomas, Inky Johnson. When I found myself where I needed some motivation, I listened to those cats and kind of heard their stories. And not to compare yourself to other people, but sometimes you need a soundboard to kind of bounce off of in relation to where you are. But with that being said, man, I apologize for having so much to say. I was supposed to be interviewing you.
Hey, man,
I
like
was supposed to
man,
be interviewing you.
we had a good time, man. I'm glad for the opportunity. You know, like I said, I know we have been talking about this for at least about a month or so, and it was the perfect time. And you hit me up yesterday about doing a podcast, man. I was super excited. So definitely appreciate the opportunity, and you know, hopefully in the future we can you know, do some collabs, or you know, there's some type of way I can you know, help you as well.
Nah, for sure, for sure. Where can people find you online?
They can go on. I'm on Facebook, Antoin Watson, or they can go on to Instagram. I'm at Antoin Perseveres on Instagram and also on TikTok.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna have another conversation about the social media aspect when we bring you back. We'll bring you back after the new year, after the book comes out, and then we'll tap into that.
Definitely
So
looking
with that,
forward to it.
no, all good. So with that being said, this has been another episode of Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV. Peace.